Yo guys, what's up and welcome to r/EntitledMilitaryWives, which is the name I use for stories concerning entitled military wives who go full Karen mode because they think their husband's rank applies to them. Before we start, don't forget to leave a like on the video, and now without any further ado, let's dive right in. My husband outranks yours. My first husband was a Marine. On base, there's a commissary. It is just a huge grocery store and only military and their families can shop there. Prices are lower than the store in town and you don't pay tax. Every service member gets paid the same day. I learned to wait a couple of days before I went shopping. But there were some days when we were out of everything and I had to go on payday. The lines got ridiculously long, curving around the entire store. One day, some woman started pushing her way to the front of the line, loudly bragging that her husband's was a master sergeant and outranked all of ours, so she deserved to go first. Then, a woman at the back came up and started telling her off. This was almost 10 years ago, so I don't remember the exact dialogue. But she was basically reaming her for wearing her husband's rank, saying that her husband earned that rank, not her, and she wasn't entitled to anything. Furthermore, the grocery store lines had nothing to do with rank, and even if her husband was here, she would still have to wait. Woman 1 came back with,
"I don't know who you think you are, but my husband can destroy your husband's life. Don't mess with me."
Woman 2 says, "Oh, you mean a master sergeant outranks the base general? I will have to let my husband know that he has a new boss. What's your husband's name?" Woman 1 kinda went pale and just walked to the back of the line. See, military members are responsible for the behavior of their families and her husband could have faced disciplinary action. She knew this but didn't expect anyone to question a master sergeant's wife. Cracked me up. A lot of wives get a hard-on for flaunting their husband's ranks, thinking it made them better than everyone else. Watching her get put in her place made my day. So this is basically a special version of
"I'm a customer, do what I say."
Instead it's
"My husband is a sergeant, you have to do as I say."
But let's continue. Crazy woman wanted her baby bassinet back for free, sent her husband in uniform over to take it from me. This was a few years ago, but I had to share. I bought a brand new bassinet for my newborn from a woman who never used it or even put it together out of the box. She claimed the box had been in her closet for over a year. She was very sweet, even dropped it off for me as I was very pregnant. A month and a half later, I get a message from her asking for it back. I was flabbergasted. I said, "I'm sorry, I paid for it and my son uses it daily. I cannot just give it back. Unless it means that much to you, then you can pay me the price I paid, but it's very used." She blew a gasket telling me she will not be paying a dime for something that's already hers. I kept my cool and reminded her I paid for it. But she insisted the price I paid for such a lavish item, aka brand name, was basically giving it away for free and therefore she has the right to take it back. She continued to argue and I kept giving her examples like, if the grocery store asked for your items back and refused refund, etc, but it did not get through to her. I stopped responding, but her messages were flying in left and right about how she just found out that she's pregnant again and this bassinet could become a family heirloom in their family, brought up a miscarriage years ago, which was totally unrelated. Next thing I know, she messaged me saying she still had my address and her husband was on the way to remove it from my home. An hour later, there was frantic banging on my door. I didn't answer, then I hear, "Police department!" I quickly jumped to open it. The man was in military uniform, not police, and he said,
"My wife sent me to retrieve our bassinet."
I instantly just started laughing and saying how ridiculous this was and that I paid for it, everything I said to her, and that I could not believe he's taking time from work to do this. He started moving forward like he was going to step into my house and I put my arm up and said, Absolutely not. He argued with me for a solid 5 minutes when I said, my son has puked and had blowouts in that bassinet and there are stains on the side fabric that won't come out. Why would you want that? He let out a sigh and said he would be back. It was very bizarre. Next thing I know, I'm getting another message calling me an ugly woman for ruining her bassinet and that they would be taking legal action. I'm not an idiot, so I just sat back and laughed and never heard a peep from any lawyers after blocking her. The only thing that came after was her mother messaging me telling me what an ungrateful, entitled piece of scum I was for keeping something that wasn't mine and demanding payment for it, and they couldn't wait to sue me for thousands in emotional and property damage. Have you guys ever had any run-ins with entitled military people? Especially entitled military wives? Feel free to tell us in the comments or post your story on r/ripestories on Reddit. Depender at a luxury store. So depender is basically a word for the entitled military wives we have spoken about earlier. And please remember, these stories are not meant to insult anyone or to bully anyone, it's just for fun. So this past weekend was Independence Day, and as you know, there are usually massive sales. I work as a merchandise allocator for a luxury brand, and since one of our outlets are very short-staffed, I volunteered to work on the sales floor one of the days. I used to work there before my promotion. Now this depender comes along during one of the busiest times of the day, so I was already feeling a little harassed after helping so many customers. Picture your mom, typical depender, with her coach bag and her monogram MK tote, looking all haughty and whatnot. She snarls,
"How much is this?"
and hands me over this rubber slip on slides with the trademark stripe that the brand is known for. I tell her everything's already reduced and hand it back to her. At this point, I try to turn around and help someone else. And she stops me and snarls,
"How about a military discount?"
I tell her, no, we don't offer that in our company like many other luxury brands.
"Well, MK gives one."
So I tell her that MK has a different company policy and I wanted to tell her that it's not luxury.
"What do you mean you don't offer? Can you make an exception? It's 4th of July. My husband fights for your freedom."
So I tell her no, we really don't offer military discount. This person just starts yelling for a manager and ranting about how we don't support the troops and it's distasteful that we don't offer such discounts on a holiday like this. I told her the manager cannot make an exception because it's company policy and that I will have her escorted out if she does not stop yelling. She throws the shoe down and walks out. If you have watched until here and if you enjoy r/militarywives, then please post some stars in the comments. Military EP. I recently stumbled across this sub. It has been thoroughly enjoying reading all the stories and has jolted my memory. As a veteran, I have lots of respect for military personnel and their families. However, as most of us know, there are plenty of turds amongst the gems. This event occurred 10 years ago. This lady pissed me off to a level I cannot even describe. To preface this story, I had just completed my undergrad and was preparing to transfer when I get a call from entitled Navy wife ENW. She wanted me to tutor her son in math and science as the school
"Cannot help him."
Background on ENW, she's a typical depender who thinks the son is a born rocket scientist. I think you all know the type. My connection to her is through the husband, poor soul. Nice guy, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. So here we go. ENW gives me a call about a month prior to my transfer out of the area. ENW:
"Hey, I need you to tutor my son in math and science. The school cannot help him."
Me: I am transferring out of the area in a month. I don't think I will have the time. ENW:
"You have to help him. The school cannot do shit for him, and it will wreck his chance at a good college."
Me: see previous statement. ENW:
"Fine, you are transferring, I get it. Son wants to work for NASA. He's smart enough to do it."
Son is a sophomore in high school at the time, and I owe his dad a favor, and I have 30 days of leave to blow. I will help the kid out. Me? Okay, I can tutor him until I have to depart. What does he need help with? ENW.
He failed pre-algebra. The school says he needs special education classes. I think this is BS. Who the F are they to tell me he needs special education? Those kids are just a bunch of dumbasses who are useless to the world.
That pissed me off. I have a special place in my heart for special ed kids, as I once was one. Plus, my parents were and still are special ed teachers. Me? I don't think I can help son out. I realize he wants to work at NASA, but that requires a deep understanding of math and science.
ENW. Duh, that's why you need to tutor him. When can you come over?
Me? Again, I don't think I can help him. He needs help I'm not qualified to give. I would recommend looking into the special education classes. Incoming ENW nuclear meltdown. ENW.
You're an effing engineer. How the F can you not help him? Also, who the F are you to tell me my son needs special education? You hardly know my son.
Me? Okay, I will put this another way. I'm not going to help your kid because your comments are effing insulting. Go to the effing school, have son effing tested, and effing listen to the professionals who will help son out. Set him up to be successful. ENW.
F you smartass, you don't know crap. Thanks for ruining my son's future.
Hung up after that. I called husband to forewarn him of the upcoming ass chewing. After story, husband fired ENW about a year after this event. ENW is remarried and is still living the depender lifestyle. Son eventually did get the help he needed. Unfortunately, he had to repeat his sophomore year but did graduate. Son now works for a cable company and is doing relatively well. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks again for the good reads on this sub. And apparently in this case, fire his wife means divorce. But either way, let's continue. When you have a run-in with an army wife. First off, not a witch hunt. Today, I went to the local on-post gas station with my silly hot rod. Coincidentally, a Mustang, to get some fresh E85. There's one two-sided pump and the one I was trying to use was on the fritz. On the opposite side was a contractor that was filling his truck up. No problem, I can wait. Whilst waiting, I noticed a SUV pull up behind the contractor, look around sheepishly, then go park somewhere. Once the contractor was done, I fired up the boosted gas hawk, looped around, and lo and behold, said SUV zipped up and jumped in front of my car. Somewhat taken aback, I stopped, rolled down my window, and gestured my disbelief to the driver. This moment I will not soon forget. All the stories I've heard of dependers have always amused me, but I had never met one in the wild until this moment. No crap, she leaned out, looks, and told me,
I have an appointment. I'm more important than you.
No BS. Cue sudden, overwhelming need to lol and cringe simultaneously. So I, like the consummate professional I strive to be 90% of the time, I disregarded and re-queued for the pump, hoping to not get cut off by another overly entitled depender. At this time, it became clear to me how serious her level of army wife was. On the upper windshield of her SUV, in big bold letters was Army Wife. I shit you not, at this point I could no longer contain the laughter. She must have heard me, because once she finished pumping, I told her to have a nice day, to which she responded with something snide and not worth remembering. She muttered something about medics, children, appointments, etc. I told her that her attitude combined with the bumper sticker was pure US Army WTF moments. She smattered on again and I responded with uncontrollable laughter and just told her to leave.
I have an appointment, I'm more important than you, and my sergeant husband outranks you.
I'm really curious what kind of a role the husband plays in this relationship. Also, once again guys, if you enjoy the military stories, please tell me and I will try to find some more. Also, if you have any good sources for these kinds of stories, please tell me. Can be either websites or subreddits, etc. But let's continue. Depender mombies and how dare I live in this neighborhood. Sorry, this is really long, but this has been eating at me for a long time. And today finally pushed me over the edge to post for the first time. My husband is in the military and we obviously have no kids. We live on a major military base and quite frankly, it's ridiculously difficult to find a woman in her early 20s who is not currently pregnant or a full-blown mom-bee already. I have a long list of grievances and rants about how every spouse event turns into a bingo fest or how I am somehow looked down upon for pursuing an advanced degree and not shooting babies out of my hoo-ha every 18 months or less. At this point, I don't say we are never having kids. Literally had a woman rant at me at a spouse event for daring to politely suggest that kids were not for me, and just lie and say we are going to have them years down the road. This is also apparently unacceptable, but whatever. Lesser of two bingos. But I digress. This rant concerns today's irritation: housing. The military provides free on-base housing or a monthly allowance to live off base. After we got married, my husband and I put ourselves on the wait list for what is, in my opinion, the best housing on base. New, bigger houses, fenced backyard for the papas, and an awesome neighborhood. We waited for months for our house, and we could afford to. Most people with children cannot afford to live in a short-term rental for several months and don't want to pick another neighborhood. I stayed back in another nearby city while we waited, which we could easily afford because of that sweet dink money. So today, someone asked a fairly innocuous question on the spouse's Facebook page.
What housing waitlist should we get on?
She immediately had people telling her that she should not apply to the neighborhood me and my husband live in,
out of consideration for people with children who actually need those neighborhoods and shouldn't have to wait because inconsiderate childless couples are taking those houses.
To clarify, there are plenty of other places to live with houses the exact same size that feed into the exact same school. Our house is just newer. Cue the Depender Mumby army arguing that people without children should not even be allowed to apply to live in these neighborhoods. That anyone without kids who would choose to live in these neighborhoods is an inconsiderate a-hole. Also, lots of sob stories about how
people with fur babies and not real babies are literally taking houses away from families who deserve them.
Or
I'm pregnant and living in a hotel because I refuse to live anywhere else but in the community with a 4 to 6 month waitlist. And it's the childless people's fault that I'm in this position.
Or best of all,
you're just jealous because I'm a mommy and I deserve better because I crapped out a kid.
Oh yeah, I'm super jealous that you shed out 3 kids in 4 years and at 23 you have no education, no job, no work experience and no prospects other than being a mom-bee. Alright guys, that was all the content I have for you today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a comment with some stars for me and also like the video to support me. I hope you have a fantastic day and I see you tomorrow.